Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Even with all the problems and the worries, let's revert back to Proverbs 17, verse 20. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a downcast spirit dries up the bones. Let's all try to be uplifting and prayerful at this time. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Call in on a Tuesday, March the 17th. Zeb at the Ranch, good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. Zeb at the Ranch on this Tuesday, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. Well, we're brought to you, of course, by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely the best. All 7 locations with a big, huge spring tire sale going on right now. You stop in and see them today. Along with Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Top of the morning to you, laddie.
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doug, thank you much. Call back in a little bit if you would. I would like to hear your response to some of the things we're going to be talking about. God bless you, man. Thanks much. Right now, let's get to the weather forecast, and it's brought to you by Roger and the crew over at K&R Rental. Oh, these people are good. Oh, these people provide the best of tools and equipment to finish any kind of a construction project. And, well, you're not sure what you need? Well, all you got to do is call them. And believe me, with springtime, they've got all the power rakes, all the garden and lawn equipment, all the rototillers, everything at K&R Rental, 678-3122, K&R Rental on the Burley Paul Highway. And right now, here's the weather.
Sunny for today, but a slight chance of some afternoon rain showers and thunderstorms. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly sunny, at least for most of the day. By this afternoon, we do have a 30% chance of rain showers and thunderstorms. Some of these storms could produce small hail and gusty wind. We are expecting a high of 58, and wind gusts could get as high as 24 miles an hour. Tonight, chance of rain showers before we hit the overnight hours. That's going to be tapering off. There is going to be some thunder possible as well, low of about 33. Tomorrow, slight chance of rain and or snow showers in the early morning hours, then a slight chance of snow showers later on in the day. Partly sunny skies with a high of about 49. Then for Thursday, mostly sunny and 52. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to everybody by K&R Rental. You better believe it. Call for the more information on their tools and equipment. Don't forget they have rentals on both long and short term. Everything you need right there at K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn on the Burley Paul Highway. Number to call, 678-3122. Caller, stand by. I'll be right with you. I also want to remind everybody about our friends, and boy, they are our friends. I go through a lot of shirts and Wranglers and everything and sports jackets, whatever you need cleaned. Whatever you need cleaned, they do the best, most professional job. I know. I'm pretty fussy. And, of course, they also do your washing. Yep, if you haven't got time, they'll wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes, just like Mama used to at Daryl's Cleaners. 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see Kevin and Cindy today. They're listening right now. You stop in and say howdy at Daryl's Cleaners. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I have a couple of questions for you because I've been out of town. There won't be any lunch bunch this month, will there?
No. I'm going to be talking and giving an official statement on that in just a few minutes. You kind of jumped in on it, but I'm just going to be talking about that in just a few... No, that's fine. Never apologize. It's a good, fair question, and I'm going to be talking about it momentarily.
And then the other question I have is, will they have that community auction that I've heard advertised?
All right, I am in the process of finding out through my lovely wife. She's making calls to all these folks. I don't want to jump the gun on that either. So stand by. As soon as I get the word, you'll have it. But I don't want to even give definitive or lack of definitive answers right now.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, my friend. I appreciate it. And call back later. We appreciate you, Keith. Thank you. Caller number 2, stay tuned. I just got to get this on. I am busier than a woodchuck in the middle of a whole bunch of new forest. I'll tell you what, we got a lot of things to take care of here this morning. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. Write that number down, put it on the refrigerator, wherever, 678-0459. They've got all your heating and cooling and electrical needs, everything you need, and they've been in business for almost 7 decades with not only all the items, but the best of people, the best of knowledge serving you at Ramsey Heating and Electric. I urge you to get a hold of them today. 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Caller, thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Joe had to go, sir, so hopefully he'll call back in.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate that, Wheels. Thank you very much. There's another call. Good morning.
Good morning. There's going to be lunch at the Burley Senior Center today, Tuesday. They're open, and the lunch will be ham and red potatoes and all the things that go with making a great dinner.
Ooh, red potatoes. Joe, I know you used to farm, and there's nothing better than red potatoes and a cream sauce with a whole bunch of peas.
We'll say that for today, yes, even though I think russets are better, but today the red ones are the best.
All right, my friend. God bless you. We'll send everybody over to the Senior Center, and it's only $5, right?
That's right.
Okay.
For any and everybody. All you can eat.
All right, Joe. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. I love those.
Do for us. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. Joe Taylor. Nice man. And I love red potatoes with that kind of a cream sauce Deanne makes, and then put in a whole bunch of peas. Ooh. Good eating. That's all I need right there. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Today, we've got a lot of serious things to cover, but I'm going to start off with a little bit more lighthearted. Today is St. Patrick's Day, or as it has been known, the Feast of St. Patrick. And it's a day of the Festival of St. Patrick. It's a cultural and religious celebration, and it's held in, holy smokes, all kinds of countries, whether it's Ireland or whether it's Brazil, Argentina, Canada, the United States, all over. Everybody's going to wear green today and look for an excuse maybe to tip back a little bit of green beer or whatever, green ale. I don't blame them with all the things going on. Maybe a couple of tips with that beverage. Anyway, today is St. Patrick's Day. Don't forget that. And we're everybody wear the green. So what do? I forget this morning, and I put on a blue shirt. I am getting a note right now, and that's why I'm holding back here a little bit, that Rogge Auction is, the auction is still on for this Saturday, the community auction. And that great big community auction at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds is still on until they find out differently. So the minute we hear anything differently, they will notify us, but it is still on. That's the big spring community sale that's going to be held this Saturday, March 21st at 10 a.m. at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds. And if you haven't got your consignments in, I urge you to call right now. Ron Rogge at 431-6187 or Cade Rogge at 431-0074. Everything's still on for that spring community sale at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds. And if there is something told to us differently, we will relay that to you right away. Okay? Got you covered. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Some other closures that need to be mentioned right now. The Vietnam Veteran Recognition Dinner has been canceled until further notice. That was called in by Chuck Driscoll. And I understand from a very nice lady that the church services at the Rupert United Methodist Church for this coming Sunday at 11, I believe she meant to say 11 a.m. She's got 11 p.m. I don't think they go to church at midnight, but we'll say 11 a.m., have been canceled. That's a cancellation at the Rupert United Methodist Church. I urge you to call in case there's a discrepancy, okay? And let's see, what else have I got here real quick. I think all the Idaho High School Activities Association events have been suspended through April the 5th. And I know there's school closures. I know that we've got other notices that we need to get out, etc. Some schools, I believe, and I'm going to stand corrected on this if I'm wrong, I believe the Cassia County schools went on a closure basis today, the 17th. And again, if there's any discrepancy on some of this stuff, please let me know. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley. Now, I tell you what, you need a good meal. You need to keep your nutrition level up with the best of food and the best of people serving you, and that's at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Simply put, they are America's Diner. They're located at 611 North Overland in Burley, and I urge you to stop in, and believe me, whether it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all the time, anytime, the best of desserts and really caring personnel serving you. Denny's Restaurant. And the menu choices are phenomenal. Like the strawberry crepes that Deanne just absolutely loves for breakfast over there. And you're going to love anything over there. On the menu, it's delicious. Great food. America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. All right, back to reality. We are looking at and hearing about, and I want to say this up front, I am not preaching or standing on a soapbox trying to be negative. I hate doing this. I mean, there is nothing I despise more than going on the radio and sounding like perhaps doom and gloom. It's not my intent. I am only telling you the truth. I had a call yesterday that really upset me, and it's a good thing it was on the phone instead of in person. I am not getting on here and trying to spread anything except the truth, and I'll let it go at that. But I'm not going to back up, ever, from telling you the truth. There are problems across the country where major cities have turned into somewhat of ghost towns, with closures and shutdowns on bars and gyms and restaurants and businesses in general for walk-ins in some of the major cities right now as we speak. The president mentioned really try to stay away from groups of more than 10 people. And I think it would be fitting at this time, and again, these are not my words, these are right straight from the guidelines from the President of the United States that I received early at 4 o'clock this morning. Listen and follow the directions of your state and local authorities. If you feel sick, stay home. Don't try to be John Wayne or Mama America and go to work. Contact your medical provider via the phone. Don't go to the emergency rooms. Don't just walk in and say, howdy, here I am, I'm sick. Don't do that. Use common sense and consideration for others. Use the phone. If your children are sick, keep them at home. Do not send them to school or to another function. You know, like maybe Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, 4-H, whatever the case might be. And again, contact your medical provider. If someone in your household is tested positive for the coronavirus, keep the entire household at home. Oh, well, little Billy's sick or daddy's sick, but we're going to go out and we're going to go to a little meeting or we're going to go to a party. No. Use some common sense. Do not go to work. Do not go to school if you feel sick or someone else in your family is sick. If you are an older person, and that takes in me and a lot of you, if you are an older person right now, stay home and away from other people. That is not meant to hurt someone or shun someone or make them feel unwanted. It's now common sense. This coronavirus has proven that it is devastating to older people, and especially those that perhaps have an underlying health condition. I have a heart problem. My wife has a problem. We all seem to have, when we get older, underlying conditions. Again, I revert back to the two words of common sense. Stay away from other people. And if you are young or otherwise healthy, you are at risk and your activities can increase the risk for others. I was listening last night, and it makes me mad that if they're going to have shutdowns and closures and they're going to say, please don't go out and try to mingle with a whole bunch of other people and create a problem, and all the sports, Major League Baseball is looking at an extended not opening day until possibly in May, the NBA shut down, NCAA shut down. Why do these young people, and this infuriates me, why do these young people basically spit in the eye of common sense, and on spring break they're having huge gatherings and huge parties, and they're on the beach, and they're going here and they're going there? They're part of our civilization too, supposedly. So a little common sense, kids, and that's what they seem to be because they're not acting like young adults. And avoid social gatherings in groups of more than 10 people. I mean, let's just all use a little common sense for hopefully a short period of time. And they also ask us to avoid discretionary travel, shopping trips, and social visits. That brings up a good point. Do not visit nursing homes or retirement or long-term care facilities unless it's to provide critical assistance. Don't sit there and say, oh, well, we're all going to get in the car and go visit Grandma. No, that is not common sense. Not now. Don't do that. And, of course, wash your hands. Make a game of it with the kids to stand there and wash for 20 seconds, sing a little tune or whatever the case might be. We've all gone over that time and time again. But I just think that we need to use some common sense right now and kick this virus out of Dodge City. Seriously. You got to stop it. All right, now it's your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, I'll be right there. Thank you for your call. I'm glad that people are showing the caring, and I want to talk to you quickly about our friends at Dino Septic Service. We are blessed to have them on our radio program, and they do a job that most people just don't want to do. I mean, they're out there pumping septic tanks and liquid waste removal and sewer and sink drain lines cleaned, water and sewer lines installed, backhoe services. They are the best at what they do. They got a whole litany of things that they can provide for service to you. Call them, 436-6526 or 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service, Dino Septic Service, with the big truck that says, smells cargo on the way, Dino's Septic Service. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
I would just like to add to your list of what you're providing everyone this morning to stop the panic buying.
Oh.
I went down to Walmart yesterday, and I couldn't believe the paper aisle was virtually empty, the whole aisle. Incredible. Everything was gone. The water area where they usually store the water, that's all gone. The same situation was over at Smith's. The same thing. It was just incredible to see how people are panic buying. I want to recommend everybody go to the store, buy just what you need. Don't feel like you have to go buy 10 cases of toilet paper.
You know, I'm not saying this because you just called in, but that was absolutely the next point of interest on my cheat sheet here. I mentioned it yesterday, and stay on the line with me. I mentioned it yesterday, and it makes me furious to think that there are people that live amongst us that when something like this happens, they go, oh, woe is me and my family. We're above everybody else. We're going to go to the store and buy them all out. And they go out carrying 10, 12, 13, 14 rolls of 8-pack toilet paper. I mean, that is asinine, stupid, and very selfish.
Well, what bothers me even more are those who are profiteering from those acts.
Oh, my.
Turning around, buying it at this price, and trying to double or triple or quadruple the price to sell it to other people.
You know, and I don't want to get too graphic when I say this, but 8 rolls of toilet tissue, let's say you have a family of 4, you go in and buy 2. Okay, that is 16 rolls of paper, and any common sense is going to say that's going to last for a pretty good time with common sense and diligence. But I know for a fact that after going to the store last Friday and hearing some of the stories about people going down with carts, about husband and wife, and filling those carts with toilet paper, like 10, 12, 14 different containers of 8-roll toilet paper, that's absolutely insane. And they should have never been allowed to check out with that.
Well, thankfully, Smith's and Walmart and a lot of the other stores are now limiting everyone so that you can't walk out with more than 2 paper products at a time.
Well, the same could be said, though, sir. Don't you feel the same way with some of the wipes, you know, like the Santa wipes and, you know, the ones with the Lysol wipes and everything? Hey, you don't need that many, and don't load the shopping cart up. Let's share with everybody else in a time of need.
Exactly. There's the hand sanitizing stuff as well that people were... They were walking out with 10, 12 bottles of the stuff, and you don't need that much. It's crazy.
I tell you.
We have a bottle here at my house. Thankfully, we kind of follow the edicts of making sure that we have enough supplies on hand to last at least a month. So we have plenty of toilet paper and bottled water and even hand sanitizer. But I was just surprised to see those same areas of the stores, just the shelves are just empty, and it's like, wow. Are we living in Russia where there's been shortages?
Yeah.
It's crazy to see that happen so quickly.
Well, and I will say this, and I'm glad you called on this right away this morning. I think there are some areas that all of us need to be very, very tuned into. Number one, I have advocated on this program for a long time that we need to have extra food, we need to have extra canned goods, and don't rely just on milk as milk is per se, powdered milk. But the main thing for the elderly and those that have health conditions, I have urged since last week for them to call their physical or their doctor or to their pharmacist and make sure that they've got their medications up to speed and enough for a 30 or 60-day period.
I agree. One final thing for you before I go is, please, people, practice your social distancing.
Yes.
Don't be running up and hugging everyone and friends. Yeah, yesterday I had a friend I'd seen at Walmart, and he wanted to come up and hug me, and I just had to back off from him because he's got all sorts of little grandkids and teenagers in his household, and I just said, no hug, no hug. And I didn't like doing that, but I told him, I said, I've got a mother who's on dialysis.
Yes.
And she's 85 years of age. And I don't want to take the chance that I might get something that I'll transfer to her and put her at risk of dying.
Yeah, if somebody calls you up on the telephone and says, we thought we'd run over and maybe have a cup of coffee with you, and I'm going to say it myself. No, you're a dear friend, and we value your friendship, but this is not the time to come over and try to be social and renew old acquaintances. This is not the time.
Yes. One final question, then I'm going to go, and you can answer this off the air if you'd like. What about that lunch bunch? Are you going to continue that?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to get into it yet, but I'm going to say this, and I might as well address it right now. Due to calling a lot of the seniors to find out their wishes and whims on what they wanted to do with Lunch Bunch, I am going to halt the Lunch Bunch for this month of March. Now, I'll look at April. I will make a decision for April, towards the end of April. It would be on about the 24th or 25th anyway, but I'm going to take a good, strong look at this. But right now, we're not going to add or try to enhance a problem with seniors or anybody else. So the Lunch Bunch for this month of March has been canceled.
Okay, well, thanks, Zeb. I'll let you go.
God bless you. Thank you. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead quickly, please.
Yes, sir. Before we get started into what's going on with the coronavirus, I'd like to make an announcement. I'd like to wish my beautiful bride a happy anniversary. 7 years today.
Well, there's two ways to look at that. I know you, and I know how you come to the Lunch Bunch sometimes with your short pants and your chicken legs, and I just think that your wife should be put up in reverence for complete dedication to a cause that, it must have been a workable situation.
I just had an idea.
I bet you did.
Lunch Bunch, you and I need to wear short pants, and we'll let the audience decide who has the better legs that should wear short pants.
Well, there's no question you would win the trophy, but I'm not going to subject myself to letting my knees get chilly like yours do in February sitting there with short pants on.
Oh, I wasn't in February. I was tempted, but I wasn't.
Oh, okay. Doug, on a more serious note, yesterday I made the decision to not have Lunch Bunch for this month, and there were people that were concerned. There were also people that feel bad about that decision, but I've got to look at the safety and the integrity, if you will, of keeping everybody as healthy as possible.
Well, this is true. I mean, yes, sure, they're more disappointed than unhappy, We want them there for future lunch bunches.
Yep.
And we don't want to, you don't want to subject somebody to something that will cause them, ill or death.
Well, we're not putting out a scare that there would be any potentiality of having or getting or obtaining or being next to something that would be negative. But I'm going to revert back to what the government is saying right now, and I think it's good common sense. Hey, Let's stop the flow of this virus. I don't care if it's less serious than the flu or more serious than the flu. Let's abide by some of the guidelines to get this virus curtailed and not have as much passage from person to person. So that's why I did it.
Exactly. And it's a smart decision. And it was a tough decision for you, too, I'm sure.
Well, okay, let's be open and honest with everybody. I think I called you and shared my feelings about it yesterday.
Yes, so I'm considered one of the seniors, right?
With short pants.
With short pants, yeah. Anyway, no, it was a smart decision. You know, I like going every month. I like seeing the people. I like, visiting, and I really enjoy the prayer and the Pledge Allegiance and, what's that young lady's name that sings?
Linda Croft with the national anthem, and nobody does it better.
Yes, I love her voice, and I look forward to hearing that. But I can wait a month.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody else can.
I just want to say this, that you, of course, have helped and have put forth a lot of help on the gift certificates and everything. Folks, we just got to take it easy and sit back and study and use common sense for a short period of time. I know it's going to inconvenience people. I know a lot of people are going to sit back and go, well, I don't like being told what to do. Well, just use common sense and think of this. Think of someone else instead of just yourself.
Exactly. And a real quick little story. My wife was in the store yesterday and went down to pick up just a few things, and she said it was scary the way the shelves looked. But she also has allergies, and this time of year she'll get sneezing attacks.
Yes.
Well, she happened to get a sneezing attack, and she says that store looked like it emptied out. Everybody turned. She says, I had the whole aisle, 2 aisles to myself.
Oh, my. And it's pretty hard to explain to a rushing horde of people that are leaving the scene that, I got an allergy. I got to run. Thanks, though.
Hey, everybody, let's do what we can for our seniors. I know I say go eat there, but let's hold off for a little bit. I know they need the people to come eat so they can get their funding. But let's be cautious, but let's support them monetarily for a little while.
Send the check. Send the check.
Send a check.
Yep. All right, I got to run.
God bless.
Thanks, buddy. Caller, I know you've been waiting there a long time. Stand by. I've got to get this in. Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. I know you got a lot of jobs to do. I know you've got some lifting and digging and pushing and carrying and grading and leveling and you need machines that are going to get the job done. Well, they have them at Barry Equipment and Rental, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location. They've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and the excavators, and they've got all the sizes and shapes of bobcats, all the skid steers, excavators, everything. What are you waiting for? Get a hold of them today. Barry Equipment and Rental in Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa, serving you. Caller, you have been so patient. Go ahead, please.
Well, I just want us to think here logically. In 09 and 10, during the Obama administration, we never closed one school that I know of, maybe a couple here and there. But I've researched it. We lost 17,000 people in America. 17,000. And nobody closed a thing. We all went to our baseball games. We all went to basketball games. We all went out and ate. And Obama, he didn't respond until he was forced. And then he was coddled by the media because he was such a good man. And what the thing of it is out of those 17,000, 2,000 of them were children. And most of the rest of them were under the age of 65. And the elderly was 1,000 plus. And so here we have a situation where it was worse for the children. We never closed a school. And so the overreaction here is going to crush our economy. I have 11 children, and I'm worried in some respects for my children. If you think about, we're not going to go out and eat. Well, I'm going to go out and eat because it's my opinion. That's me.
But, I'm going to interrupt you right there. Randy, I'm going to interrupt you right there. And please do not take offense at this. I disagree with you at this extent and at this time. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to go along with the edicts of what they say and how they want to try to stop this virus. You're not an epidemiologist. I'm not either. And I'm not going to buck the trend of trying to keep this virus away from senior citizens, away from anyone. I'm going to do all my part. I'm not going to buck the trend. I think it's offensive and selfish if we don't at least try for a period of time to go along and try to stop this virus. I don't care if you think it's made up. I think portions of it are. But that's not going to cause common sense. I think we need to use common sense. We need to say, okay, well, I'm going to try to stay home. I'm going to try to do this for a period of time, see if it helps and the virus has a thwarting effect where it stops or it's curtailed. I honestly disagree with you in your attitude.
Well, this is my reasoning. So, for instance, if you were shut down Chobani, which you can't do, 500 employees plus, because you can't stop milking the cows. The milk cows have to be milked 2-3 times a day, and all the milk has to be shipped. And all of the plants around here that run milk, they have to run. The dairies have to run. The businesses have to run. The truck drivers have to go, and they have to gather at the truck stops. And so if we cannot stop certain things because there is no choice. And in England, the elderly were told to stay in their house, and anybody below 65, they were told to go out. And he says the natural immunity will find itself with the younger people, and your bodies will just become immune by nature.
So are you saying, Randy, I don't want to go on and on over this. Just a minute. I know that there's essential goods and services and businesses that have to stay open. I know that you're going to have your ambulance drivers, your truck drivers, etc., for goods and services that have to be delivered or else. But are you telling me, and I question you on this, are you telling me that if they said that we would really appreciate it if you'd keep you and your family at home for a few days and try to not push this virus or promote the virus, or if someone in your family has the virus or possibly can be exposed to it, that you're going to buck the trend and go out anyway? And I don't think that's smart. I really don't.
Well, I don't have any choice. I have businesses that are running across this valley that I do work with, and they're all running. I mean, people are building houses. People are out working. They can't afford to stop their businesses or they'll be out of business. And the chaos from the economic crushing will be worse than the flu ever was.
I don't think you can make that assumption. That's an assuming of an attitude.
There's nothing I can do about it.
Well, wait a minute, Randy. I'm just trying to have a conversation. Randy, wait a minute. Give a guy a chance. Don't get mad and hang up, but we got to have a back and forth on this. Okay, then fine. You're a valued friend, but we've got to sit down and analyze common sense. I do not want to see what happened in Washington State with people going into rest homes, etc., and then grandma and aunt are laying there dead on the floor because they were exposed to the virus. I want to see this virus stopped. I've got my own feelings about it, but I'm going to adhere to whatever has to be done right now to curtail or limit involvement that might offend or affect or infect people with this virus, and I think we all should work in that regard.
Well, I just worry about the people that are in business, whether or not they're restaurant, bar owners, or any other...
Well, you don't think I am? For heaven's sakes, Randy, my business depends on having sponsors and advertisers, so I'm as concerned about it as you are, or more so.
Well, I tell you what, it's the economic disaster that is coming if we do not somehow, I don't know. see, this thing in England is a unique thing. The young people they are just doing whatever they do. They didn't stop doing anything, and we're still running flights to England. We're not running flights out of Europe. I'm a little confused about that, but I guess it remains to be seen. See, we didn't overreact when Obama was president.
I'm not going to turn this into a political hindsight. A lot of things look clear in the rearview mirror. A lot of people know that I could not stand, nor will I ever stand, Obama and his administration. But I'm not going to turn this into a political pratfall, if you will, and going back hindsight about, well, Obama didn't do this and Obama didn't do that. I'm not worried about that. That water's been down the canal for a couple of years. Let's concern ourselves with what's going on right now.
Well, it's just like today. I got a call from a big, huge business that I do business with, and he said to me, people are calling and they're texting and they're telling me they need to this and that, and I need to go here and there, and people are driving down Overland, and people are traveling around on the freeway, and people are meeting and doing business, and I you know, this is what happens.
Okay, I'm not going to go any further, Randy. I'm going to curtail this conversation because I've got a weather. Oh, for heaven's sakes, Randy, please! I've got a weather forecast I have to get on right now, but I'm not going to sit there and say on this program that I'm going to go over above suggestions that are going to try to keep people healthy. I can't do that. I won't do that. I appreciate your friendship and your call, but I guess we're going to arbitrate your feelings and my feelings.
You know, I'm not offended.
Okay.
I'm not offended. You're my friend. It just is what it is. But I tell you what, I don't have any choice. I have to go.
Well, so do I. So do I. Right now, I have to go. I have to go. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Right now, let's go to the weather. I'm just going to say this. Are we all just going to do our thing? Is that what we're going to do? Oh, well, they're suggesting we don't see seniors. Well, we're going to go see Grandma anyway. Well, go ahead and have the lunch bunch. Go ahead and do this. Go ahead and do that. Go ahead and have your meetings. Are we just going to all do our own thing, or are we going to try maybe a little bit to work together and stop something that is dangerous and has killed people? Okay? Weather forecast brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And they're right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. And I urge you to give them a call and make an appointment for your hearing health. Very important. 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. And talk to them because they have the expert diagnostic testing that can help your hearing health needs. Please give them a call today. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's the weather.
Sunny for today, but a slight chance of some afternoon rain showers and thunderstorms. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly sunny, at least for most of the day. By this afternoon, we do have a 30% chance of rain showers and thunderstorms. Some of these storms could produce small hail and gusty wind. We are expecting a high of 58, and wind gusts could get as high as 24 miles an hour. Tonight, chance of rain showers before we hit the overnight hours. That's going to be tapering off. There is going to be some thunder as possible as well, low of about 33. Tomorrow, slight chance of rain and or snow showers in the early morning hours, then a slight chance of snow showers later on in the day. Partly sunny skies with a high of about 49. Then for Thursday, mostly sunny and 52. That's a look at your weather forecast for 7-3.
And, of course, the weather brought to you by Dr. Pickup and her excellent staff at, of course, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. And the number to call, 312-0957. Caller, I am so sorry you've been patient. Good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, I don't call into your program very much, but I'm very disappointed and shocked at what Randy, the way he talked and the way he's going to carry on everything. I'm really disappointed. There's too damn many people like him in the world, and I think he needs to apologize to you. Thank you.
Well, whether he owes me an apology or not, I appreciate your call, Bob. I really do. In my business is as a public servant also. I run a talk show. I try to have opinions on any and all topics. I try to provide the truth, not gossip or hearsay, the truth. And right now, Deanna and I have had hours and hours and hours of conversation about what to do, what not to do, how to handle this, what we should do here, whether to have the lunch bunch or not. We better not go here. Both of us, Deanna and I, have health issues that we need to be really cognizant of. I am going to play by the rules right now, and I'm not going to alter or change anything. And for anyone to say, well, I'm going to do it my way, to me, that's selfish. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, you have the patience of Job.
No, I do not.
You have quite a bit, regardless. I was just surprised how long you that. And I'm just sorry to hear him say, not give you a chance to speak. So that's all I wanted.
Well, let me ask you, do you have before you hang up, it would mean a lot to me if you'd answer this. I'm sure that you have a family. I'm sure that you have friends. I'm sure that you have people that you associate and congregate with, people that you go to church with and everything. Do you agree with me that we all need to do something right now, our own little part of common sense, that maybe we can stop this thing and we can get back to living the American lifestyle?
Absolutely. What kind of inconvenience will it be for us for a week or two or even a month to curtail our activities and just say, hey, you know what, we want to get a handle on this. I don't want to be responsible for someone's grandmother or grandfather or elderly aunt or uncle passing away because I decided to run over and visit them while I was asymptomatic and pass the virus on to them.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, and I mean that. A heartfelt thank you for your comments. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Well, I never meant to offend you. I never meant to offend anybody. I'm just worried sick about this whole thing, and I'm worried about the flu, of course, and we do need to be careful. But I also know that I don't have any choice but to go out and work every day. And if, you're a business owner and this somehow puts you out of business.
All right, now wait a minute. Now, it's going to be give and take, Randy. It's going to be give and take if I'm going to allow you on the air, because we're going to talk back and forth. First of all, you didn't offend me, and you don't, just listen, and you don't owe me an apology. But we do owe each other the common courtesy of understanding a position. I could take a big, big hit on this radio program to the point where I might have advertisers and everything and might say, well, we're just going to pull out and we're not going to advertise with you anymore. I take a financial hit, but I'm still going to advocate that I'm going to follow the rules as they are portrayed to me to try to get this virus and everything else stymied and stopped in its tracks. You might have to take a hit also for a few days or a couple of weeks and not worry about the almighty dollar and just worry about what you can do to contribute to the success of killing and stopping the virus in our own little world.
Well, what I was saying was this. The people that I do business with are just calling me and texting me like normal. And they're out working every day like normal. And so I don't have any choice but to respond. Or I may take a hit. And so commerce is flowing every day. It's just like if you go to Walmart or Smith's or whatever to get toilet paper, you're congregating with people. And so, you see, I'm sorry I said I was going to go to the restaurant. If you're a local restaurant owner and nobody comes to your restaurant and it ends up having...
Absolutely. Now, stop. Sentence, period, right there. Give me a chance. No rambling. I'm going to be talking to all of my sponsors and advertisers to see how they want to handle this, but I'm not going to cast aspersions. I'm not going to cast negativity. I'm not going to let you get on and talk about a certain segment in our society that we don't know what the rules and regs are going to be or how they're going to handle situations until I talk about it on this program. I will not use speculation, okay? No more. No more speculation. I'm dealing in facts that we have been asked to curtail movement. We've been asked to curtail involvement with big meetings, going to see the elderly, and do all we can to stop the virus. That's not speculation. That's a fact, and I'm going to adhere to it.
Right, and I'm not disagreeing with you.
Okay, because now I've got to jump in and say I've got to do a...
Dilemma, isn't it?
What's that?
It's a terrible dilemma.
It's a terrible dilemma, but we've got to work together, and we can't be saying that we're going to be offshoots and go in different directions. I've got to get this commercial in, Randy, and I accept your words. I accept it.
I'm just concerned.
All right. Thank you. All right.
You bet, Zeb.
Caller, I'll be right with you if I have time. I've got to get this in. I want to remind you about your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations are serving you with a great big spring tire sale right now. And when I say serving you, I mean service. The very best of tires, all the sizes, all the tread designs for your pickups, your cars, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers. They've got it all, and you can save money. I urge you to stop in and see them today. And don't forget, too, that they've got the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. They provide a service to you. They care about their customers, and that includes Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I have 1 minute. 1 minute, go.
Food for thought. In these tough times where restaurants are going to be, they are going to be losing some business because people won't go out, buy a gift certificate. Help them out. Buy some gift certificates and use it later.
Absolutely. And many of which we're going to be talking to might even provide a takeout service, which I think might be another advantage. Doug, appreciate it. Got to run. Got to go to the news. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Next hour, we're going to be talking to Dan Kish about energy. And this all kind of dovetails into what the problems are today, too. So we're going to talk to him. And then we're going to, at 9:30, talk to Patrick Wood. We got a full slate coming up. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch. Oh, my. Hour number 2 on this St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, absolutely serving and caring about you and your family. Stop in and see them today. Great big spring tire sale going on right now at all 7 locations. That's your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. And right now, this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You know, I urge you to call them today, and get on the route service to have your garbage picked up. I have told you that for a long time. If you're new in the area, here's the number, 734-6969. They are so service-oriented and put you on the list, and by golly, you can wave goodbye to your garbage every week. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. I want to remind you that we had a call this morning. Deanne's taking care of this and called Rogge Auctions to make sure the spring community sale is going to be going at 10 a.m. this Saturday, March 21st. To our knowledge, it is still in effect and going, and they're taking consignments. Call Ron Rogge at 431-6187 or Cade Rogge at 431-0074. And that is the big spring community sale this coming Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds, managed by Rogge Auction Service. And if there's any change, I will let you know. Want to also give a great big shout out to people that really care. I am so blessed to have these folks on my program, and they can help you get back to being you. And I'm talking about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. They're not only excellent physical therapists, they're my friends. And Nick Greenwell, I've known him for years and years and years, heads up all the physical therapists over there that can help you with your aching and paining and recuperating from surgery or an accident. And they've got the only one-of-its-kind hydrotherapy pool in the entire area. Oh, they're good, and oh, they do care. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, 678-1191. I want to go to the phone line right now, and this next man, as I've said many times, we've never had the opportunity to meet face-to-face, but I consider him a friend. He's a straight shooter, and we're going to be talking to Americans Energy Alliance. I got to make sure I get that name right off the top of my head. Dan Kish, American Energy Alliance. What's the exact name again? Help me. I forgot it.
I'm still trying to get a hold of him, sir. He for some reason he's not answering his phone.
Oh, did you try both numbers?
I did, and they just go to voicemail.
Keep trying. Please keep trying. I appreciate that. Thank you. Until we get Dan Kish on the air, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the do's and don'ts about this coronavirus. I am extremely concerned about helping the elderly. I didn't get a chance to say this last hour, but I want to get it in right now. There are, I'm sure, in many, many instances of you, the audience, just thinking about, oh, well, down the street, there's a little lady that lives alone. Or maybe you might be sitting there in a rural area and saying, well, you know, down there on the Mile Road, there's a couple that are in their 80s and they can't get out very much. Maybe what you ought to do is don't go to their home, don't bother them by having to come in the house or anything. Just give them a call. Just give them a call and see if they need any help, if they need any grocery items, if they need any items picked up that are of necessity for them. Or you might ask them, now, if you have any medications that are at the pharmacist, whatever, can we somehow offer to help you get them or bring them to you? I think right now, more than perhaps ever before in my lifetime, we need to have and develop a good neighbor policy of extending a helping hand to others. I had a phone call yesterday myself, and I think about this, and it almost moves me to tears. A gentleman that's been a friend of mine for years, but he called me up and he said, you know, if you and Deanne need anything, we can get it for you. And I thought, boy, that is the human spirit right there, of in troubled times, helping someone else. So again, I reiterate, if you know somebody that may be living alone, if you know somebody that might be having a hard time getting around, if you know somebody that because of this current scare with the coronavirus, etc., and a lot of people saying, please stay home, don't expose yourself to any of the possibilities of corona, let's see if we can't help them. See if we can't help them or have someone help them pick up the necessities that they need, please. And calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Wheels, at either number, you're not having any success in getting a hold of Dan Kish?
Well, to be honest, I found out that his number had changed this morning, and so I finally got him on the phone for you. All
right. Thank you very much. Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm doing well. I hope you are too, buddy.
Well, we are. Evidently I had the wrong set of numbers here, and I apologize. So I'm glad that we've got you on the air. Dan, we are looking at, I think in my lifetime, the first of its kind, to where we're seeing major shutdowns, we're seeing major closures, we're seeing the possibility of stay in your home, don't go anywhere, not contact with people other than perhaps your immediate family. I've never seen this before. Have you?
I haven't, Zeb, and as a matter of fact, the reason you were having trouble getting a hold of me is that we're on our office, and many of the offices here in Washington D.C. are trying to keep people apart. So we're working from home on computer and phone and the like. So I apologize for the mix-up.
No apology necessary at all. Believe me, I absolutely relish the point of having you on the air to discuss, and if we had a little problem with the phone, that's the least of my worries. Dan, this energy, I'm not going to call it a problem right now, because we're looking at oil and the futures market and everything on a real downslide, which I think is going to be good for the consumers in the long run, and we could see, in my opinion, gas fall to under $2 a gallon at the pump. I want you to talk about that, but I also want to reiterate this falls exactly into my theory that the United States needs to stay individual and solvent on their own with fuel, medicines and pharmaceutical items, and food, and any time you bring another country into the reliance of providing those products to you, we have trouble. Respond to that, please.
Well, I'm right there with you, Zeb. I mean, I'm all for trading in terms of, we make great stuff here in the United States, and selling it to other people is something that keeps a lot of people afloat. And obviously, my general take on things is that that's a good thing if we have something here that people don't make somewhere else, or if they have something we don't make or can't grow or something like that, as long as it meets certain conditions. But if there's one thing that this coronavirus has really pointed up, and I think the thing that comes to mind for me is medicine. I had no idea, and I try to stay on top of such things, that we were so dependent on the Chinese for our medicines and medical devices and everything else, masks, all the various things that go into parts of taking care of our people here in the United States. And we've just allowed this policies over a number of years. And I mean, thankfully, President Trump's been on this for a while. He's been beating his drum since the 1990s that this didn't make any sense to be so reliant on others. But, I mean, we just, these solar panels, here we are, we got people saying we shouldn't do any drilling for oil anymore or natural gas here in the United States, and they've been beating the drum on coal. And their answer are Chinese solar panels. And they make about 75% of them in the world. So all these solar panels going up, coming from China, and we're more dependent on them than we ever were on OPEC for our oil.
Mm-hmm.
And it maybe some good that can come out of this will be that our policymakers will start thinking about what is it we do that makes it tougher for our businesses to stay open here at home, and wouldn't we be a lot better building some state-of-the-art factories, making it possible to build some state-of-the-art factories to make some stuff here at home and sell to the rest of the world than just sit around waiting for a next shipment of masks coming from Wuhan, China?
You know, Dan, your common sense on this issue is very prevalent. And let me throw this number at you. I'm sure you've probably heard and read this. But we, as the American public, we should be absolutely picking up pitchforks right now and walking down Pennsylvania Avenue and going after every senator and congressman, and especially those that are damn dumb in voting to keep China in the loop with our medications and pharmaceutical products. We spend to China $130 billion with a B dollars per year, and that's absolutely insane.
Well, yeah, I mean, we honestly, when you got folks who, I don't know what the basis of this is, but from what I understand, this may have morphed from some lab in Wuhan that was where people literally consume skunks, all right? Or bats, or, we've all heard the various things. But, I mean, we've got people that do things that are just foreign to our way of life and things that we do, and obviously the conditions for that aren't as good, and we've basically, well, a lot of people have gotten rich, Zeb, don't get me wrong. I mean, New York, Washington, D.C., the West Coast, they've all gotten rich as we closed all our factories here and shipped all this stuff abroad, and all they do is sit in office buildings, although they're not doing it now, and count the money rolling in from places as we've hollowed out the center of our country. And it's about time we take another look at those policies to find out whether, again, not anti-trade. Trade is an important thing, but we ought to be asking ourselves if the plan here by Joe Biden is to stop fracking in the United States and rely on solar panels, maybe we ought to figure out where the minerals from those solar panels come from. And if China controls 95% of them, does that make sense for us to switch off the stuff that we've got in abundance here at home that God gave us, that's sitting under our own feet and we know how to get after, and switch over to something we're relying on them, where if they snap their fingers, it stops? And these are the kinds of questions that these policymakers ought to be asking, instead of being wined and dined by the Chinese embassy.
Well, and Dan, what you're saying is absolutely, it's an absolute. I mean, you're absolutely spot on. A couple of months ago, I had a guy from back in Pennsylvania, I believe, come on my program via the phone, and he was espousing the fact that he'd like to see American agriculture put to the wayside and all of our food and goods and services be imported into this country. And I about flipped out of my chair thinking about, here we have the safest agriculture in the world with the greatest farmers and ranchers, and this imbecile, and that's what I'm going to call him, an imbecile said, well, we should do away with American agriculture and import it into this country. And I thought the same premise is with oil. Oh, we're going to get rid of oil production and import it in? Oh, the same premise on medications. We're going to just have it all imported in? And when these countries get a mad on for you and I in America, and they decide to stop the imports, we are a country that is subservient to whatever they want to do to us.
Oh, absolutely. And Zeb, this isn't some cockamamie, spy novel that we've cooked up here. The fact of the matter is, if somebody is dumb enough, if the politicians in one country are dumb enough to make their country dependent on, to allow their country to become dependent on everyone else for the basic necessities of life, from food to energy to medicines and medical equipment, they're not going to lick a gift horse in the mouth here. They're just pinching themselves to make sure that they aren't dreaming at the good fortune that they've been able to do. And of course, President Trump has caught a lot of flack for since the 90s, talking about how he thought that this one-way street had to be reconfigured, and how we need to start taking a look at some of these things, because we're giving away the store. And by golly, we've been giving away the store, and it turns out the store may be giving us diseases and defective products and all kinds of other stuff. And on top of that, once we shut down our own factories, that puts them in the driver's seat. So I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from what is admittedly a national and human tragedy sorts. And the best thing that we can do from situations like this is learn where our strengths are and try to and try to plug those weaknesses that we've got, and I definitely think this is a weakness.
Well, and I agree with you totally. I think maybe there may be some God's blessings in what's going on, that we tighten up everything. It's like a footstool with the screws loose and you step on it and all the steps collapse and you end up on the floor hurt. Right now, that's where we're at. And to be honest with you, I want to see an America First policy. I want to see the consideration of what's good, bad, or ugly, like a Clint Eastwood movie, for the American citizens, and put ourselves first as a concern and everybody else second. That may sound very divisive to some people, but Dan, right now this morning, I don't care.
Well, I don't care either, Zeb. I'm right there with you. I tell you what, the president early on shut down that travel from China, and he was catching all kinds of catcalls and, oh my God, you're racist and you're anti, Chinese, and you're this and you're that. And as it turns out, then we found out they were lying, and the thing was spreading like mad, and now places like Italy that didn't follow that are burying 400 or 500 people a day. Because they allowed that kind of travel to continue and look down their snouts at it, and Europe has now become the epicenter of this whole thing. I mean, it's no longer China, it's Europe. And, of course, they've been letting anybody in and patting themselves on the back and telling them about how great they are. Well, borders exist for a reason. They always have. And reasonable limits can be placed on it. We're all pro-immigrant and like to have tourists and all the rest, but if they're bringing something that's going to kill our people, that it's time to put the stop sign up.
Dan, one final thought, and I wished I had more time this morning, but I don't. President Trump recently said at the lower price of oil, we're going to fill the nation's oil reserves. Do you have any idea how big those reserves are and what we're talking about as capacity?
Yeah, we as I understand it, the current status, and it fluctuates, Zeb, so these numbers may be a little off, but it's close to 1 billion barrels total that's stored down in salt caverns in Louisiana and Texas and Alabama. And, this is one of the first times I can remember when we're actually doing, in the past administrations in Congress have bought oil when it's high and then sold it when it's low. What he's saying is, hey, it'll give our producers a boost if we buy a little bit now the prices are so low, keep them in business so we can keep folks working, and we'll buy low, and that'll strengthen our country because we have more in reserve. So it makes total sense to me, which is probably why, everybody in Washington will go crazy about it.
Dan, thank you. I know you've been extremely busy back there, but thank you for coming on the program this morning. I certainly hope we can talk to you next week. Every week is a learning curve for us regarding energy, and having you on the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeb. God bless all your audience, and let's all get through this together. We'll come out the other end better yet.
You got it, my friend. Thank you very much. Man that I call my friend, Dan Kish with the American Energy Alliance, right here on my program. Thank you. I want to remind you, too, about other friends that we have, very caring and compassionate friends, and they include Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff. They serve you. And when there's the passing of a loved one, they always provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort. And remember this, always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. They care about you. please give them a call. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number, 436-5636. I'll repeat that one more time, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary. And remember also, Joel Heward serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Well, the weather forecast for this week may be calling for a little, rain and wind and maybe the possibility of a little snow. But, that's the tumultuous times of spring, and it won't be long. The weather's going to firm up a little bit, and we can get out and ride. That's right. Get on your four-wheeler and just ride. Get out of Dodge City and go ride. Well, let's ride at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. They are urging you to come by and take a look at all the new four-wheelers. And also remember that if you already have a four-wheeler, you better get it serviced so it's ready to go for spring and summer. They've got a phenomenal service department over there at Let's Ride. And don't forget, too, they've got all the accessories for you, too. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and it's true, this is where the fun is sold at Let's Ride. All right, we got bells and whistles and everything else going off right now, and right now we're going to say good morning to our next guest as they get ready to come on the air. Patrick Wood, founder of Citizens for Free Speech. How are you, my friend?
Doing fine, thank you. Thanks for having me on, Deb.
Well, it's a treat to have you on because anytime I hear, read, or think about infringements on our constitutional rights, and the First Amendment, of course, being one that I'm very concerned about, the Second Amendment with the right of gun ownership, also very concerned about on this program. With this coronavirus, and I know it's a kind of a yellow line to walk on, middle of the road type attitude. What do you think as far as the government saying, well, we think you should do this, that, and the other, and then the possibility, if you will, on the infringement of the First Amendment rights? Give us your little expose on that, if you would, please.
Well, Zeb, there's a real balance right now between what actually is happening with the coronavirus. There's no doubt it is real. It is here. But the reaction that people are having around the country to it seems to be way out of proportion. People, individual citizens, of course, are hunting for things like toilet paper and whatever. It has nothing to do really with the virus, but they're focusing on stuff that's a little bit crazy. Well, leaders are doing the same thing in cities and towns and counties and states around our nation. And to react to the emergency, quote unquote, things are happening in local communities that are completely unconstitutional, possibly illegal. And the big concern of Citizens for Free Speech is, how will these things be unwound where they don't become a permanent part of, their legal system or their legal structure or whatever, where the First Amendment basically will be completely wiped off the map? This is our greatest concern right now.
Well, let me jump in.
I don't know how it's going to turn out, honestly, but when you see governors like in Washington State, for instance, that has canceled or supposedly canceled all meetings with 50 people or more. This is a First Amendment issue because, we have the right to assemble peaceably, churches and political rallies and stuff like that. He just summarily has canceled them, and, churches are shutting down and rallies are shutting down, meetings are shutting down. It's crazy. But you get my point.
I get your point, but
happening.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute, Patrick.
What the impact is going to be on our Constitution?
Okay, Patrick, I got your point, and I'm not saying that I'm going to get argumentative with it at all, but I want to insert some points of interest here. Last hour, I had a good friend call into this program, and he is in construction business, and we got into kind of a little huff, if you will, regarding, well, I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to go do that attitude. I can't agree with that at this stage of the game. I'm an elderly senior citizen. I fall into that category. I'm 72 years old. I've got underlying health issues. So does my wife. I honestly think that at this time, I am going to abide by shutdowns not for myself and my own safety as being prevalent, but for others. As far as other senior citizens, those that can't get out of a house, those that have severe health problems, maybe they're living in senior centers, whatever. I think we need to be diligent and very cognizant of this disease, this virus, if you will, and I don't think we should just bow our neck and say we're going to do it our way.
I think you're right in that too. This is absolutely your choice. I'm in the same boat as you are, by the way, Zeb, about the same age, and I feel the same way. It's my choice to do what I need to do to protect myself, my family, and my friends, loved ones, etc. But in the case of, for instance, in Washington State, where the governor actually created an executive order. He put criminal penalties against people who would disobey his order. That means people could be heavily fined and potentially go to jail for having too many people gathering or whatever. Like if a pastor of a church said, "Hey, we're having church," and 52 people show up, ostensibly they could be arrested and put in jail. This is not. All I'm saying here is that the First Amendment and the Constitution still needs to be put in view of what's going on here. We can't just throw it all out and say, "Hey, we'll sort it out later." But there needs to be a balance, and I'm absolutely for people taking reasonable precautions. But that really should be left up to them, not to be dictated by the government.
That's where, in this instance, I'm going to have to disagree with you, Pat, because I'm looking at this situation to where I don't want someone knocking on my door as a Fuller Brush man and saying, "Gee, I'm here to sell you the world's greatest product," at a time when the coronavirus or any virus or any stage of the flu virus is prominent and prevalent in our society. I think that we all can sit back and not get in a big huff and say, "Oh, well, my rights have been diminished here," or "I'm going to go ahead and do it my way." I think if we all work together is the key word, we can stop and stymie this virus and put things back on track again with the American ideal and the American dream of going out, working hard, and making a living. I am not going to buck the system right now because I'm very concerned about what might happen. I'm going to go along with the system, and anybody that says, "Well, I'm going to do it my way," I have a little hard time respecting them.
Well, I still agree with you, absolutely. It's not that we should go out and be irresponsible in any way, shape, or form. All I'm saying is the excesses that are being created here, we need to be vigilant to pay attention to those excesses. And here's a good example. Everybody understands price gouging. Price gouging occurs when somebody takes advantage of a crisis or situation. They jack the price up on something, make it ridiculously expensive, and everybody gets mad. That's, ethically and morally, that's just wrong, price gouging. Well, regulatory gouging kind of comes under the same thing. When legislators or elected leaders, civic leaders and stuff, do things that take advantage of the crisis that may not have anything to do with the crisis, that's regulatory overreach. And it should not be allowed any more than price gouging should be allowed. In other words, take care of the issue and the problem at hand, but don't bring in a whole lot of other policies and try and shove them down our throat while this crisis is going on, because they don't apply. They're not needed here. This is happening a lot around the country today. This is one of our concerns.
No, I understand, and Patrick, it's good to have a good give and take with you on this, but I'll go back to the first paragraph of our Constitution that says, "We the people of the United States," blah, 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 and then it goes, "promote the general welfare." Well, right now, I think we have to look at this coronavirus and or the flu virus, as it takes thousands and thousands of lives every year, as something that we need to stop and we need to look at and we need to curtail through the general welfare of the government and its people, you and me, using more common sense.
Well, I can't disagree with you. I think, the government does have a responsibility to act and to give us information and stuff. But, across the board, it doesn't give any government representative the right to abuse the situation and try and impose other things on us that really don't have anything to do with the coronavirus.
Well, let me ask you, has your life itself, and again, just two old guys talking to each other, but I wasn't a week ago as afraid of the coronavirus, I should say as concerned about the coronavirus as I should have been. And I've had kind of a little education factor on my own to where I'm concerned, to where I don't want to see any elderly people be exposed. I don't want to see excessive visiting and gatherings to where somebody might have the infection and give it to or spread it to elderly citizens or anyone else. I just think more caring, more common sense needs to be prevalent. But has any right been taken away from you?
You mean personally?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, personally, in our town right now, which is Mesa, Arizona, by the way.
Beautiful town.
We have a limitation, of course, on the size of public gatherings. I happen to attend a church here in Mesa, Arizona, that has more attendees than what the limit is, and we're taking precautions at church, with cleaning and, taking care of business to make sure that there's no surfaces, whatever, that have contamination on them. And that's, of course, is an extra effort. But here's the loggerheads that comes in with this. Our church, as well as many others, will look to the Bible to say, well, we're not supposed to forsake gathering together and so on, to worship, to pray, to do this and that, to study the scriptures and so on. And so the government, as they come along with edict and say, no, you can't meet now. Your church just simply can't meet anymore with that number of people. Well, this kind of puts people in a situation, well, do I obey what the Bible tells me to do, or do I do what the state tells me to do? And, of course, everybody's going to have to come up with their own personal choice on that.
Yeah, but, Patrick...
Some people simply won't show up for that reason. Other people will for saying, well, we'll obey God rather than man and leave the results up to him.
I totally hear where you're coming from about religion.
I'm not saying that I have all the solution to it, but it definitely is a dilemma. And for the state to restrict a gathering in the case of a church, that's not something you see very often, and it does present a moral dilemma.
But won't you agree that we're going to go back and we're going to keep kind of biting the worm off the hook here instead of the fish about the statement, promote the general welfare? I can understand how the government right now, the Trump administration, and pardon the expression, they are damned if they do and damned if they don't. They're trying to come up with solutions to stop the coronavirus, and the Democrats have turned it into a really political hacksaw, if you will. And I think promoting the general welfare, maybe the verbiage was wrong. Maybe they should have said to your church and other churches, we would really appreciate it if you would help us in not aiding and abetting the spread of this virus. Would there be an opportunity to curtail some of the church services for a period of time? Maybe that language would have been softer for you and others. I don't know.
Well, exactly. I think... the common sense stuff, I don't think anybody has any problem with that, honestly, anywhere in society. But when you criminalize activity like that, that probably goes over the line. Here's a perfect, tangible example. In Champaign, Illinois, I've never been to Champaign, Illinois. I don't Well, I saw it on a map, but I've never been there. Not a real big town, but the mayor there, her name is Deborah Frank, issued an executive order herself for the city, and she granted herself interesting powers through this executive order, and apparently the city council approved it. She gave herself the right to ban the sale of firearms and ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
She gave herself the right to ban the sale of alcohol. And there's several other things along with it as well. She gave herself the power to direct the shutoff of power and water and gas, and to take possession of private property and so on. And, you know, say, well, what do these have? What does the banning of alcohol and the banning of the sale of firearms have anything to do with the coronavirus? Well, nothing. This is overstepping her bounds.
I agree.
In my opinion.
I agree.
And that's what Citizens for Free Speech is saying to people. Keep your eyes open here. This, you know, our officials are just as human as the rest of us. We need to make sure that they don't overstep their boundaries and doing things that have nothing to do with protecting us, and as you say, taking care of the general welfare.
I think that all of us right now, Patrick, and I'm totally in agreement with you over that mayor, which I think should be recalled and voted out of office for trying to basically stimulate the thought of more power and more control by stopping gun purchases, etc., whatever the case might be. But we're talking about an unknown factor here. Now, bear with me a second. We're talking about a virus that was released by the Chinese in the town of Wuhan. It got completely out of control. There's been even movies made prior to this, 3-4 years ago, that talk about a virus, a disease that sweeps the world. Well, we're looking at that right now. You can understand the fear factor. You can understand the negativity about what it's causing in various communities and various segments of our age brackets, the elderly, the millennials, etc. And so why can't we, for a period of time, just work together in this country to try to stop the virus or stymie the virus, get rid of it, and return to a sense of normalcy to where we don't have to worry about any losses of our constitutional rights?
Well, this has to happen. Working together to curtail the spread of the virus should go hand in hand with protecting our Constitution along the way as well, because it can get a whole lot sicker if officials take advantage of it and try and, overstep it. This is just part of civic life in America. We faced crises throughout the, last 200 years. Fantastic crises. We've come through them. But I do know that even in the worst part of a crisis, liberty-minded citizens will also keep an eye on what's happening to the structure of our country, to the structure of government in our country. And we don't want the cure to be worse than the disease. We want to come out the other side with our civil liberties intact, with the ability to unwind any executive orders correctly, with the ability to set any legal precedent, whatever, back to where it belongs, rewind it, in other words. And, hopefully when this thing is done, when the physical crisis is done, our nation won't be any worse off than it was when we started. But that's going to take vigilance on the part of people.
Totally agree with you.
The way. It's not just, blindly doing things.
Totally agree.
Being vigilant to make sure that our leaders continue to do what they're supposed to do.
Absolutely. You will find that once this so-called virus scare has gone by the wayside, and it will, I almost feel confident in saying, I will be your biggest supporter. I absolutely have had many, many, many free speechers, if you will, on this program. I'm an advocate of free speech. I am not going to have anybody tell me I can't say anything. I'm not going to have any politician or any left-wing loon come on my program and tell me that I can't say the Wuhan virus or the virus came from Wuhan, China, because, that's xenophobic. I'm going to tell those people to take a long walk off a short pier. In this instance with the disease and the virus, I'm very concerned, not only for myself but others. I think we need to work as a team to try to stop it, stymie it, and do all we can.
And I think America is doing a pretty good job of that right now. It's unfortunate. I don't know how it is up in your area, but citizens down here have kind of had a disconnect on things that they're buying. Where our store shelves are getting pretty empty. All of the toilet paper and stuff has disappeared from even Costco and our larger supermarkets. And stuff. And people are just kind of hoarding these things. It's interesting what people focus on when a crisis hits.
Absolutely.
But one of the things certainly we need to tell to people across the country is that, look, you need to take care of business, but use common sense here. Just calm down, quit the panic. Panic is our worst enemy. It's not just fear. Panic is a real enemy of everybody. And the panic really needs to somehow stop. I don't know how it's going to stop, but we need to encourage our neighbors and our friends and whatever family, step back, take a deep breath, do things that are really important to stop this. Just hoarding things like toilet paper ain't going to cut it.
That's right.
This is part of the working together. Communities can come together if they get kind of past that panic phase and say, hey, let's do things that are really meaningful here to stop this. Not just running out and cleaning out the stores of toilet paper, for instance.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I think you and I probably are 99% linked and joined in the mindset of protecting free speech. But in this instance with the coronavirus, we may have some differences. But, Patrick, I really appreciate your comments on here this morning. And down in Mesa, Arizona, I spent the entire month of February down in Arizona at a town you probably have heard, Wickenburg. That's where we go to spend February.
Yes, indeed.
And it's one of my favorite places.
Absolutely.
Well, I want you to come back, and I'm going to keep your name and the information on file. And when this degree lessens of severity with the coronavirus, etc., you are welcome anytime on this show to talk about free speech because you're very articulate, and I'll look forward to it. Patrick Wood, thank you so much for being on the show this morning.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Zeb.
All right, take care. Thank you. Very nice gentleman, Patrick Wood, and talking about the scares of, well, are they taking away our free speech? Are they taking away certain constitutional rights, etc.? It's a fine line to walk right now. And I still go back to what I said from the Constitution to promote the general welfare. And right now, I think general welfare of the United States citizens, our elderly, and everyone else is extremely important. Wow, I got to get the weather on here before Wheels crawls through that telephone line and says, Zeb, get it done. Weather this hour brought to you by some people that I know are burning the midnight oil. They're burning the dawn oil. They're burning a lot of gas and light over there because they're trying to get all the taxes done. And that's Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. These people are the professionals. They really care about you, your family, and your business. With the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, retirement planning, financial statement preparation, they know and they care. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. And right now, here's the weather.
Sunny for today, but a slight chance of some afternoon rain showers and thunderstorms. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly sunny, at least for most of the day. By this afternoon, we do have a 30% chance of rain showers and thunderstorms. Some of these storms could produce small hail and gusty wind. We are expecting a high of 58. Wind gusts could get as high as 24 miles an hour. Tonight, chance of rain showers before we hit the overnight hours. That's going to be tapering off. There is going to be some thunder as possible as well, low of about 33. Tomorrow, slight chance of rain and or snow showers in the early morning hours, then a slight chance of snow showers later on in the day. Partly sunny skies with a high of about 49. Then for Thursday, mostly sunny and 52. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebedee Ranch.
Gina, thank you very much. Gina. And thanks again to Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Boy, they are busy helping and serving you. Offices in Burley and Rupert. Don't forget, accounting services, the best, the most professional for you, your family, and your business. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Next hour, we're going to, well, we probably will talk about it a little bit, but we're going to have Pastor Paul Thompson on the air. And we were also going to have Pastor Bear Morton on the program, but he had to go to Salt Lake to pick up his son at the airport. So we're going to have Pastor Paul Thompson from the Eastside Baptist Church coming on the program. And I want to say this, and I'm not going to hedge. I salute the House and the Senate for the state of Idaho for passing Bill 500 that would ban, stop, and curtail transgender men posing as women that could possibly be allowed to play on girls' sports teams. It's stopped. And I'm going to put this out. Governor Little, if you're not listening, you should be. You'd better sign that bill into effect. Don't forget Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. The very best of life insurance, health insurance, everything that you need for the protection of you, your family, and your business. And Todd and the rest of the folks over there, they really know, they really care, and they spend the time to make sure that you're covered. They're dedicated and responsive to your needs and very thoughtful. All you have to do really is just give them a call. Set up an appointment at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Easy to find on Highway 24 going into Rupert. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Wow. Tomorrow I'm going to be here. Then on Thursday, I'm going to take a little bit of a day off to take care of some meetings and different things that Deanne and I have to take care of. And Sharon's going to do the program on Thursday, so I don't want you to miss that coming up on Thursday with Sharon Wilmot, Zeb at the Ranch. And, you know, we want to give a great big shout-out to Sharon real quick. She is going to be going in. I hope she's listening this morning and can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's going to be on April 1st. She's going to go in for some reconstructive knee surgery, and we want to give her the very, very best and hope all goes well. And coming up next hour, we're going to have, as I said, Pastor Paul Thompson from the Eastside Baptist Church on our program for the entirety of the hour and talking about the birth certificate bill and the transgender bill. So all that's coming up in the next hour. And Wheels, I'll let you roll the train right into CBS News. We'll be right back. Oh, my. Big old dark cloud out there hovering over the studio. Good morning, everybody. Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations are involved right now with a big spring tire sale. You stop in and get the tires you need for your safe driving. And don't forget, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, our friends at Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Oh, my. This is a beautiful 12-bedroom home. Seniors, listen to me now. They provide 3 delicious meals a day, plus snacks, plus housekeeping and local transportation. And you're there with your friends. Absolutely. It's a beautiful place. Greystone Crossing, and I urge you to call the number 650-4979. That number again, 650-4979. Talk to Matt or Kelly Wiggins, and they'll be more than happy to set up an appointment to show you around the facilities of Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Want to also remind you that I keep saying this almost every day, but it's true. I want you to contact two friends of mine and find out about how you can help yourself build your financial future and security through silver purchases. And I am so glad I got involved in this. Yep, we're creating our own security bank, if you will, and also it's a valued treasure for our loved ones in the future. You can do the same. I urge you to call Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon Wilmot at 430-3259. Tell them I told you to call and let them explain the value of silver purchases through 7K Metals. That name again, 7K Metals. You call them today and find out more. Let's go to the phone line right now. And we were going to be doing this interview in my studio up until there were some transitional changes in the last couple of days. And this man has been so amenable to coming on the program via the telephone this morning. And I say good morning, and I mean this, to the pastor of the Eastside Baptist Church in Twin Falls, Paul Thompson. Sir, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Zeb. It's good to hear you, and thanks for having me on the show again today.
I appreciate you being here in Wheels. I'm going to ask if you can turn him up a little bit. I would also appreciate that. Paul, during the legislative session, a couple of bills were put upon the desks of our legislators to ponder, study, and I said hopefully pass. And they were bills 500 and 509. And they went through the House, and 500 went all the way through the Senate, and now we're waiting for the governor's signature. Would you take some time in your verbiage and explain bills 500 and 509?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think these are really important bills that the people need to be paying attention to, especially right now that House bill, let's take that one first, House Bill 500. It has passed the House and just recently has passed through the Senate. And it will have to take one more short little step back over to the House to address a couple of amendments before it makes its way over to the governor. But it appears all that stuff is moving right along. And really the most critical point right here is as you've been stating this morning, Zeb, that this is time now for the governor to come in and put this law. This is the transgender bill that forbids boys and men who want to think themselves as girls from playing on girls' or women's athletics. And this will affect high school as well as collegiate athletes.
Absolutely.
I think I'm really grateful that the legislature has gone into this, and it puts Idaho not all by itself to make this law, but it puts us in a place where now we're treating biological sex as a factual scientific matter again. We're no longer living in this nebulous, crazy idea that a man can think of himself as a woman and it forces the world to treat him like a woman. This is one of those things now again, and it's very similar to House Bill 509, which we can talk about in just a minute. But this bill treats biological sex in high school athletics especially as men are different than women, boys are different than girls, and so this is a bill I think that we ought to all be encouraging the governor. The governor has given a little bit of an indication that he may not sign this. So the duty on the listener right now is we can't let our guard down. We gotta pick up our phones and we gotta write our emails to the governor and say, listen, we want you to sign this bill into law.
You know, that was very well stated, Paul, and it goes down to two simple words: common sense and common decency. A couple of things that we have left to go by the wayside in our society. This idea that this bill that was first introduced by Barbara Ehart to help save women's sports is long overdue. And I'm sure that by talking to other states that are having problems, like Connecticut is a good example, where ladies' sports, especially track and field, have been invaded by trans men imitating girls, and and they, the trans men, have taken away a lot of the scholarships, a lot of the opportunities for college educations, and it's a problem that is growing across the country. And I think this bill and the passage of this bill will stop and stymie a lot of the problems that could be incurred here in the state of Idaho. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Zeb. And, the importance of this, the significance of it in our state, where here recently some of the big corporations have tried to put the squeeze on the legislators to not pass this bill. For example, here in Twin Falls, two giant corporations, Chobani and Cliff Bar, they joined forces with Micron and Hewlett-Packard, and I believe there was one more big organization out of the Treasure Valley. They tried to really persuade our legislators to not pass this bill. So I got to say right now, this is at least one bill that I'm really pleased with how the legislature has handled it. And they've been bold, and they've not cowed down to the pressure of corporate America. And so for this one, I think there might be two things we ought to do right now. We ought to keep the pressure on the governor and say, we want you to sign this bill into law. Protect our girls. Protect sanity in all places here on this matter. But also, we need to be writing our legislators and telling them thank you for being bold on this matter. This one, they need to hear an attaboy from it.
You bet your life. Now, here's the ridiculousness of Chobani and Cliff Bar and others. They are coming out and saying, how dare you have this bill that is against transgender men imitating to be females. We're talking about a very still minute percentage of people. So Cliff Bar and Chobani, they would rather protect a very small portion of society and hurt all the girls? I mean, this makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it really doesn't. And, this really is a day where clarity is being made, and we can really be grateful that it is. That here's a day where it is time for society at large to stand up and defend the rights of our girls, the privileges that women have in athletics that they didn't have 40 years ago. And this is something that has been being chipped away at from the transgender movement of our society, and it's time for smart thinking, factual thinking, biblically minded people to stand up in a day like this and stand on a place of truth on this matter. And so it's time for the big corporations to realize they do not dictate what we do in this society. People do this, and we do this through a representative government that responds to the way the people want them to make laws.
And it also does something else. To me, it's a small but a very important brick in building the building again, the brick in the building, to restore decency and moral value to our society. I'll let you respond to that, and then I have a caller with a question.
Yeah, Zeb, I agree with you. I think this really is something that we can really count this as a blessed opportunity from the Lord. Of course, we're not finished yet. The governor has given his indication that he's not sure what to do with this bill. And so, again, I just want to encourage your listeners who I know are active on these kind of things, but it's important that we communicate with the governor.
Absolutely.
This is the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
This bill.
Absolutely. Caller, go ahead, please. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Okay. First, let me precede my comments by saying that I support this bill fully. I think it's a good idea. But I would like to hear some specific examples of where transgendered youths have taken away opportunities from women, because I haven't heard of any myself. I'm sure they exist. Could you list a few?
Yes, I can, and I'll take that before I turn it over to Paul. Just recently, going into the month of January, court cases were filed regarding I think it might have been 4 girls back in Connecticut that had scholarships lost and potential college educations lost because of trans men posing as women, getting onto the track teams and taking away various and sundry scholarships that were available to these girls. These girls did not like this. They did not want this. They went to their schools and asked that it be stopped. It was not, and these trans men took away these awards and scholarships, and these girls filed suit and litigation, which is now, I believe, going to the Supreme Court of the state of Connecticut. Paul, respond to the caller, if you would, please.
Yeah, Zeb, I would cite the same cases that you are. These individuals, these boys who are trying to think of themselves as girls, they now hold several state records in girls track, and for some unthinkable reason, the state of Connecticut has allowed this to happen, and so they have taken away records, and have really, because of the biological difference of a boy and a girl, it will most likely, these will be records that will never be broken again by a girl. They'll be broken by boys who think they're girls, but they'll never be broken by a girl because they cannot compete at the same level. And that's not a slight to women. It's part of the glorious way that God made us differently. Where we don't have any actual cases in Idaho yet, but listeners may not know this, that boys who are going through the hormonal changes, they're taking the hormones to transition. And there is no way to transition from being a boy to a girl. Let's be clear about that. But in their wrong thinking, they're taking the hormones. The State of Idaho Athletic Association actually has a pass for boys to do that, and this bill would stop that. It would say no longer can boys be doing this in the state of Idaho.
Absolutely. And the thing that I want to say over and over again to those that have called into my program and those that have sent me emails, this bill and the passage of this bill is going to stop and stymie any problem that might be incurred in Idaho. It's happened in other states. California, as a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, they had a 6'8" male with a full beard come out and say that he was a transgender male that wanted to be female, and he ended up playing on their basketball team, and the school was afraid to fight it because of the lawsuits. And these problems are going to become bigger in number, and I want to underline that word, I applaud Barbara Ehart, Representative Barbara Ehart, for introducing and pushing this bill so that this problem is not incurred in the state of Idaho. Paul, respond to that.
Yeah, Zeb, it really is a good thing that I've visited personally with Representative Ehart on this matter, and she has a background in women's sports. She's been a coach. She's been an athlete, a collegiate athlete. And so she gets this, and she understands what's at risk here. And what's at risk is all of our daughters, every daughter of any Idahoan is at risk of being minimized, discriminated against, and treated unfairly. And so this bill, House Bill 500, that again has passed the House, has passed the Senate, and is in the path of getting a signature from the governor. And so we need to stand up and say, Governor, defend our girls.
Absolutely. You know, in the op-ed that was written by Barbara Ehart that appeared in our local paper, I've just highlighted some of the excerpts, and she said, quote, "All I want is to ensure a level playing field for girls to excel in sports." And then she said, "I want to make sure that girls in this state don't lose their roster spot to a young man." And I think that sums it up. And what was Title IX developed for in the first place, Paul? Title IX and the money from Title IX and what they wanted to have occur from Title IX was to give an equal access and an equal playing field to girls, and by letting trans men posing as girls get involved in girls' sports, it throws it right out the window.
It does. It really makes a mockery of what Title IX was intended to do, and it makes a mockery, more importantly, it makes a mockery of God. And, you know, the Bible tells us, Zeb, that God will not be mocked. So if society wants to pretend as though this is something that is a real path, we're making an attempt of mocking God, and we need to pay close attention to this, that this is something that we cannot do, and we must not even be attempting to do. So for this matter, again, I want to just reiterate how good the passage of this bill along the way has been, and we need to see it all the way across the goal line here with the governor's signature.
There was, in my response, in my cowboy verbiage, a absolutely stupid response in the form of an op-ed in the Times News that was sent down by the Post-Register of Idaho Falls, and there was one line of this response to trying to quell and squash Bill 500. I want to read it to you and see what your thoughts are. They said, and I'm going to read two of them, the Senate should reject both of these constitutionally indefensible, socially divisive, and economically destructive bills. And then they go on to say later at the end of this op-ed, this attack on the transgender community doesn't come from the Treasure Valley or the Magic Valley or North Idaho. It comes from this particular person, Barbara Ehart. You know, they're talking about defending the transgender males trying to compete as females, but once again, Paul, no thought in any op-ed ever stood up in defense of women.
Right. That's really true. Which is, I think that's a great observation, Zeb. That where is that? Where's the voice in this society who's going to stand in and defend women? Who's going to stand in and defend sanity? And then again, most importantly, who's going to be willing in this society to stand up on the morals and on the truth and the absolutes of the Word of God? And so, you know, I agree with your assessment on that op-ed. This is an indication of the kind of culture that we do live in.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a comment. Caller, go ahead quickly. You're on the air.
Yeah, well, I hear a lot about protecting the girls, and I agree with that. Believe me, I've got 5 daughters. But this bill also protects the young men, because we have taught them that they can be girls, and young men need to know that they are young men and that they have a role. They have a specific role in society and in life, and that they are meant by God to be young men.
Let me ask you a question, ma'am, and I so appreciate your call and your comment, and I'm not pointing the finger at you, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, but where did we being society, where did we drop the ball that God didn't make any oops, God didn't make any mistakes, there are only 2 genders, men and women. Where did we drop the ball on this?
Well, God doesn't make mistakes. However, human beings do. And we're all human, and everybody has their cross to bear. And if their cross is to feel that they are a gender other than their own, then my heart breaks for them. But I'm not asking anybody who is an alcoholic. I mean, I don't know any alcoholics who are saying, "Hey, you need to accept me as I am and support me in my alcoholism and provide me with alcohol and not prosecute me for anything I do under the influence of alcohol." We all have our cross to bear. We all have something we struggle with, every single one of us. You do, Zeb, I do, everybody does. And this is their cross to bear, but that doesn't mean that we have to change society because of their cross.
Amen. I think I know who this is, but I want to tell you how much I appreciate your call. That was very succinct and very articulated. Thank you so much for your call. Paul, respond to the caller, please.
Yeah, Zeb, the caller makes an excellent point that this really is as much a protection of boys, to not leave them in their confusion, to not give them a path to stay in their confusion. It's like people try to say that that it's unloving to speak the truth in this day that we're in, but there really is nothing more loving to communicate to our young children, to the young people of our society, what truth is. And of course, we have to come to that from one place or another. And I, as a pastor, obviously, my place of starting is from the Word of God. And it is the most loving thing to our boys that we tell boys, you are not girls, and you need to stop thinking yourself as a girl, and we need to, as a society, need to stop giving them permission to behave like girls. They need to grow up, and the caller is correct. They need to grow up and become young men.
Absolutely.
Society is a big part of how that path happens, and we need to regain that place.
You know, Paul, I've got to do a commercial right now, and we're going to hold you over into the next half hour so that we can also talk about the gender change on birth certificates. And I also want to come back after the break, and I want to talk to you about the almighty dollar taking precedence over decency. So we'll talk about that right after the break. Stay with me, if you would, please.
I will.
All right, sir. Want to remind everybody about Patterson's Electronics. These are really nice people. And when I say nice, I also mean knowledgeable. And I'm talking about Curtis and Lorena and the whole staff at Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. And when I say they've got all your electronics needs, I mean they've got it all. They've got so many products, and believe me, I have page after page after page of different things. I haven't a clue what they are. I mean, for all you electronics buffs out there, you better get in there. They've got all the power cords and the monster cables and all the home theater systems, video surveillance cameras, all the complete sound systems, car stereos and audio systems. Woo! All your TVs, it's all there at Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. Curtis and Lorena say, come on in. They're ready to serve you. Right now, we're going to send this over to Wheels. We've got about a 3-minute break, and we'll be back with Pastor Paul Thompson in just a moment.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Oh my! Quickly, I want to remind you about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More having a great, big, that's huge, by the way, anniversary sale. It's going to be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week, the 19th, 20th, and 21st. Oh my goodness, 40 to 50% off on all furniture and mattresses. Oh, wow! They're going to have a closeout mattress event and all the furniture, recliners starting at $249 and sectional starting at just $699. You better run. Don't walk. Run into Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week for their great big anniversary sale at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. We're on the air with our guest this hour, Pastor Paul Thompson from the Eastside Baptist Church in Twin Falls, and we're talking about our legislature, our House and Senate, having the backbone, and I mean that when I say it, the backbone, to pass House Bill 500, which would stop transgender men posing as women to participate in women's sports. And then also 509 is another bill we're going to be talking about in just a moment, about changing birth certificate and gender. Pastor Thompson, I wanted to mention to you before we went to the break and I ran out of time, it seems to me, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, that money, M-O-N-E-Y, big money and corporate business, etc., like the Chobani's, like the Cliff Bars, etc., they care more about business and more of the margins on the profit side than they really do about women and common decency. Do you feel that way like me or not?
Yeah, Zeb, there's a perplexing component about why would these big corporations want to come in and try to weigh in and really kind of want to put pressure on our legislature. It really doesn't make any sense that they would want to do that if not for some kind of a path for a financial benefit for them. It just really doesn't make sense. If they're thinking that Idahoans, this is the value of Idahoans, Well, these are companies that have settled here in the Magic Valley. Their position, and I don't know if any of your listeners ever read the letter that they sent to the House and to the Senate regarding this matter, but it doesn't make any other. There's no other way to think about this than there had to be some kind of a financial motivation behind them on this. This really was not. We all know, just like we're about to talk about the birth certificate issue, this is not an issue founded on real science. And so it's really just a cultural desire to want to live in debauchery or live in open sin. And, if you've got companies that are behind it and it makes it more cordial or more acceptable by society, then it just appears, it makes sense that it would appear this is really more of a financial thing, that they're going to get accolades from the culture because of their more liberal position than the basic Idahoan believes.
One of the things that really bothers me and gets under my saddle blanket is when we have people like Representative John McCrosty, a Democrat that represents Garden City, come out with op-eds that say, oh, we need to have more love and less hate in Idaho. And right there, it raised the hackles on me, because I'm not saying I hate anybody or hate anything, but what I am saying, there's a moral compass of right and wrong and decency, and that's what I support. I'll have you respond, and then I'll take a call.
Yeah, I agree with you, Zeb, on this. The world wants us to cry out they want us to behave the way they want to define love. As I think one of the earlier callers, there is nothing more loving than speaking truth, and certainly speaking it in a loving way would be the right way to do that. But it is actually an expression. If Representative McCrosty is wanting Idahoans to have more love, then what we need to do is we need to show more love and stay strong and do not move off of the foundation of truth. So stay there on truth, and that'll be the most loving thing we can do for the coming generation.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Actually, I have a comment. And it's kind of morbid, but these people don't think about the fact you can have all the plastic surgery and hormone treatments in the world. But if they do an autopsy on your skeleton, they can tell if you're a male or female. And women have an advantage one way with their body structure, and men have a different advantage with their skeletal structure.
So be more defining on your point. What's your point that you want to make here in our conversation?
Our point is these guys that say that, well, I'm a woman, so I can do sports with the girls. The point is I don't care how many plastic surgeries, how many hormones, whatever. What your mind says, your skeletal system says you're still a man.
Amen.
And it gives you an advantage.
Amen.
Whatever you're doing over what a woman's doing, except for having a baby.
I totally agree, and thank you for your call. And Paul, you want to respond to the caller, please?
Yeah, the caller's right. You know, if your listeners have had the opportunity to read the bill itself that Ehart presented to the House, you'll see the argument that she makes that the difference biologically between a boy and a girl is so striking that, it is true. An examination of a skeleton, you can tell this is a male or a female. But muscular structure is so much different with a male and a female, and she's right. It doesn't matter how much hormone hormone therapy an individual's gone through. Their muscle structure is still going to be to the advantage of the male, and he will always be a male, no matter how he thinks or how he presents himself, regardless of plastic surgery, regardless of hormones. At the base of it all, it is true what the Word of God says. God created them, male and female.
You know, you mentioned a moment ago, Paul, that letter that was sent by Chobani, Cliff Bar, and Micron, and it was in the Times News, and their last paragraph, second to the last paragraph, I just want to read to the audience in case they missed this, and keep in mind, this is from these corporations. They said, oh, and I got to read this with a weeping, teary eye, passage of these bills could hurt our ability to attract and retain top talent to Idaho, and it could damage Idaho's ability to attract new businesses and create new jobs. Paul, to that comment and that paragraph, I say that is total bunk. How would you respond?
Yeah, it's a statement that's based to convince people. It's not a statement based on reality. They're trying to say that this is going to hurt. Let's go back to that financial component. This is going to hurt us financially if you do this. People are going to stop wanting to do business with Idaho because of this. Professional athletes are not going to be able to compete in Idaho because of this. Collegiate NCAA, it's going to affect us in this manner, in this way. And you know what? Those are possibilities. They really could in this crazy day that we live in. But listen, there is no better place for a society to land than on that which is scientifically and absolutely true. And so where this has potential to hurt them, I think it's really more of a ruse. I think it's really more of a facade, that it's not going to hurt them at all. They're going to find, if they hire God-fearing people, they're going to find there's no better employee to have than God-fearing people.
Let's talk. We've got limited time, and an hour goes way too fast. But I want to talk a little bit about Bill 509 that would basically allow people to go in and change their gender on their birth certificate. I'm going to be throwing this at you in very layman's terminology. I find this complete lunacy to the point where you can change it to what? You're going to become a male, or conversely a female, or maybe a giraffe or a hippopotamus or a lily in the field. I mean, why are we catering to people to change their genders? And really, it's a complete upset of our society. When they have a driver's license that has an X, they don't know who they are. If a crime is committed and you see 3 people run out of a bank, and you're going to say, well, I think it was 3 ladies, and you stop them, and then in a car you see 3 guys. I mean, the whole thing is a cultural lunacy as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Zeb, this bill 509 is probably the one that we really ought to pay the closest attention to of these 2 bills. We want 500. We want the governor to sign it. And by the way, before I forget, Zeb, let me encourage your listeners that you need to call the governor, and let me give you a phone number. It's area code 334-2100. That's 208-334-2100. That's a number you can call to contact and communicate your desire to the governor. You want him to pass House Bill 500. You need to do that today. You need to do that this week. And then on this issue, this birth certificate, because now we're dealing with a vital statistic. We're dealing with the very thing that you're addressing, Zeb, whenever a burglary happens and a report is given that there were 3 females that did this, and the police find the vehicle and it's 3 men. What are they supposed to do? And what happens if they call them women and they don't want to be called women? And so it gets into the messy of the messiest of places. So this birth certificate issue, because it's a vital statistic, it's recording and reporting at birth actual facts. It is better in this place for us to be factual true than to be politically correct. And the politically correct is to go down this path that we want to let everybody be whoever they want to be and let them do whatever they want to do. That's Pandora's box opened up, and you never get that box closed back up. It's best if Idaho, it would be best for the whole world to do this. It would be best for the United States to do this, but it looks like it's going to be a home front issue. And it's best for Idaho to be correct on this matter than to be politically correct. And listen, if it costs us federal money, because we're going to be factually correct, then I say let the federal money go away.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. We have a caller with a quick question, and then after that I've got a weather forecast to address. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air, please.
Zeb, if our governor does not sign these two bills, he should be subject to recall, because that is absolutely stupid lunacy and not what the majority of the people that voted for him want of him. Thank you.
No, I agree, and I know this gentleman that called in, Paul, and I think he's absolutely right. What are your thoughts about what he said?
Yeah, he is right. The majority of Idaho, how can we say that? Because our representation, our senators, passed this bill, and the people put these people in place. And so that's a representation of a constitutional republic, and the governor needs to listen to the people, not just listen to the pressure from the society.
You know, I would throw this at you before I go to the weather and mull this over a little bit, but I think that all sports teams, all girls sports teams, be it soccer, be it volleyball, be it softball, whatever the team, basketball, all girls, honestly, I think all schools should send letters to the governor and saying, we do not want our girls teams in the future possibly shattered and torn apart because of a transgender issue, and also we need to know from all legal aspects who the person is on a driver's license instead of just an X. Respond quickly, please.
Yeah, to be as quick as I can, Zeb, I just completely agree with you. I think it would be a smart idea if schools and students would do this. I listened to a good bit of the testimony on that bill, the transgender athlete bill. And we might be a bit surprised that the younger generation of Idahoans would prefer this bill not be a law. And so this would be a case where the voting population needs to love the young people enough to see to it that this bill gets passed.
You know,
because if we don't, another generation down the road will not only be embracing of this transgender position here, but they'll be ready to embrace even more sin, even more ungodliness.
Absolutely. Let me just throw this at you, and I'll kind of curtail my weather forecast for a couple of minutes and then run like the Dickens to get everything in. But it looks like, and correct me again if you feel like I'm wrong, but it looks like this is partisan politics as it is shaping across the United States and not just here in Idaho. It seems like the Democratic Party has accepted this as part of their mantra and part of their platform of endorsing and advocating transgenderism along with a lot of other things. And the Democrats here in this state have said that this bill, 500, and also 509 is not, quote, fair, equitable, and respectful. Well, it's absolutely respectful to make the God's defining of the genders.
Right. Yeah, there's really not anything more fair. There's not anything more respectful. There's not anything more honorable in this day than to stand on the right side of truth, of fact.
Yeah, that's
Again,
right.
It's better to be correct than politically correct.
Paul, thank you for your short answer. I've got to get a weather forecast in here, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about 509. Weather brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. And, of course, you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com, and check out all the delicious meats for you and your family, whatever the occasion, from Scarrows Meats. I mean, whether we're talking all the different bacons or the different sausages or the tri-tips or the pork ribs, you name it, bratwurst, it's all there for you at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Sunny for today, but a slight chance of some afternoon rain showers and thunderstorms. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly sunny, at least for most of the day. By this afternoon, we do have a 30% chance of rain showers and thunderstorms. Some of these storms could produce small hail and gusty wind. We are expecting a high of 58. Wind gusts could get as high as 24 miles an hour. Tonight, chance of rain showers before we hit the overnight hours. That's going to be tapering off. There is going to be some thunder as possible as well. Low of about 33. Tomorrow, slight chance of rain and or snow showers in the early morning hours, then a slight chance of snow showers later on in the day. Partly sunny skies with a high of about 49. Then for Thursday, mostly sunny and 52. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebeth Ranch.
Thank you very much, Gina. Brought to everybody this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331. I'm going to say that again without biting my tongue. 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number to call, 324-7657. Scarrows Meats, changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Pastor Paul Thompson on the air with us. Paul, I'm going to say this, and I think it kind of sums up what we're talking about here this morning. With the introduction and the passage in the House and the Senate on Bill 500, and then also 509 with the birth certificates and the possible changing on those birth certificates, I believe that Idaho is drawing a line in the sand of decency. And if we don't win these fights on 500 and 509, I honestly feel that more moral cancer is going to be allowed to furnish.
Yeah, Zeb, these are really important days for us. And one thing that's really important about House Bill 509 is that it's now over on the Senate side of life. It's yet to be picked up on the floor.
Right.
So it's passed committee on the Senate, and it's on the schedule to be debated on the Senate floor. We have to really watch this right now because it's been reported that the Senate intends to adjourn today at noon because of the COVID-19 outbreak, and so I don't know. Right at this point, I'm not sure if it's a temporary adjournment or if it's a close for the season. And so at noon today, they intend to be done. And if this bill isn't picked up from the Senate floor, it will kind of hang there in limbo until we know next what to do. So it is important days that we're in right now, that this bill does get its passage and it gets its way to the governor's desk as well.
Yeah, and I think I'll reiterate the point you made a few moments ago, and it's so true. I want everybody to call Governor Little's office at 334, that's with a 208 prefix, 334-2100, and let him know that you want his signage on that Bill 500 to restore decency to a lot of issues in the state of Idaho, and especially protecting girls and women's sports.
Yes. I would even, if you're going to make that phone call, I would even put the extra on that regarding 509 and give your desire to the governor that you expect him to call the Senate back into session if they don't deal with this House Bill 509. Call them back into session and give him that bill. This is important that this makes its way into law.
You know, we have seen a lot of things across the United States that have left a lot of folks like you and me with a sour taste in their mouth and kind of a Sodom and Gomorrah atmosphere that seems to be occurring. But I think our legislators that help promote 500 and 509, like you said very succinctly earlier, we should call them and commend them for their pushing in the passage of this bill.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And you know, any listener can just go on the internet, and if you have internet access, just type in that legislature.idaho.gov, and there you'll find the committees and the names, phone numbers, email addresses of all of your legislators, especially with Barbara Ehart. And let's see, I think who was the lady out of eastern Idaho that passed that introduced 509? Her last name's Young. You go find those individuals and especially encourage them for what they've done.
Yeah, she is Representative Julianne Young from Blackfoot. Is that the lady?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. You know, Paul, to sum up, being a pastor of a church and every Sunday standing up there at the pulpit and looking out at your congregation and during the week, you know, talking to your parishioners, etc., what's the mood? What's the mood of your church? I mean, are people saying, finally, good things are coming back into view instead of all the sleaze? What are the general thoughts?
Yeah, Yeah, I do think that there's an air of hope, even though, here we sit in one of the most peculiar days in most of our adult lives of the trouble with this COVID-19, and that's kind of sitting on us immediately right now. But I do think that there is evidence that there is a growing hope that God's people are rising up. They're realizing what's been going on. They realize they don't have to stay quiet on these matters, and they really do need to rise up and speak truthfully, lovingly, compassionately, and to stand on truth. Don't go down the path. And I think we're finding most believers are pleased to not follow the misleading leader down the path of disaster. Let's stay on the right road, the narrow road, the truthful road, the bedrock of the truth of God. And there we'll find ourselves to be the most prosperous people, happy people, pleasant people. There is the place where God intends for us to find our joy, is in Him.
Amen. I wish you the best, my dear friend. You've always been amenable and helpful coming on the air. Pastor Paul Thompson with the Eastside Baptist Church in Twin Falls. Please know that you're welcome anytime. Thank you for your being on the show this morning.
Thank you, Zeb. It's always good to be with you, and may the Lord bless you.
Thank you very much. Very interesting, and unfortunately it went too fast. The hour went by, zip, and is gone just like that. But I want to thank again Pastor Paul Thompson and what his views were on these bills, 500 and 509. I'm running a little bit late here, so I better get right to the situation at hand. Caller, stand by. I'll give you about 30 seconds in just a minute. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with a big spring tire sale going on right now. And, of course, your Les Schwab Tire Centers always ensure that their locations are safe and ready for everyone to shop and enjoy the comforts of their stores, and then also the service they provide. Excellent people at all 7 locations with all the tires that are on sale right now for the spring tire sale for your car, pickup, SUV, whatever. You stop in and talk to them today. And the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. All of this and more with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland and Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I have exactly 30 seconds. Go.
Yes, Zeb, I'm very sorry. I love this country. I love my community. I have tons of elderly people that I help and take care of across this valley. And I have felt like hell since I upset you and your listeners. Some of them. I love everything about this whole thing, and I pray every day that we get through this without too much damage, economically or physically. And my stomach has been in a knot for 3 hours. So I just wanted to make it clear.
Don't you worry about it, and I thank you for being so straight up and straightforward on this. God bless you, my dear friend, and I'll look forward to having you call in tomorrow. How's that? Take care, my friend. Take care. Thank you. We're going to be back tomorrow morning at 8:06, and we always say the way things were, the way things ought to be. And don't forget the 4 words that mean the most to us. In God we trust. Tune in tomorrow morning, 8:06. Zeb at the Ranch. God bless. Take care.